everyone, welcome to Gardening TLC. I am Michelle and we are in Northern Illinois Zone 5. Today and tomorrow and probably the next day, we're going to be working in this back garden. How many of you have a garden that's like half done and you're not quite sure how to finish it? I have one just like that. I did a design 3 weeks ago and now we're going to install it, button this bed up and get it done. We're leaving some things in place, taking some things out, putting some new things in, adding a path, getting this one finished. I've been gathering everything for the last 3 weeks and now I'm ready to go. So come on, you guys, let's get this done. For those of you that are new here, let me give you a little history on the bed. The bed started like 5 years ago, and when I made it, it was because I had this big slope that was on the back of my house with this little bitty skinny bed that had like a railroad tie that was the edge. And every time I had to mow, I felt like I was gonna fall off the mower. So what I did was I built these tiered walls in here and then put steps that came down from my back deck. Now the top 2 tiers of the wall, I like everything that's in there. The top one is my herb bed and the second one, it's coming along. I like what's in there, I'm not changing that. But what I didn't like was the bottom section. It was just a bunch of stuff that I plopped in the ground, hoping that it would all come together. How many of you have done that? Yeah, it just never did. I didn't have any happy accidents, so to speak, in this bed. I have a couple things that I like where they are, and I'm gonna leave them alone. They give me structure in the bones of the bed, but there's other things that I just kind of threw in the bed because I had extras left over from a job, or I bought too many for the cottage garden, and so I threw some over here. So it's just a hodgepodge of things that are all mixed together that just doesn't have any really nice cohesion. So this is the design that we're gonna do. And we are going to get some of this stuff done today, and we'll work on some of it tomorrow and some of it Wednesday. I don't have a crew with me. I'm going to do this on my own, and I've only got a couple hours each day to work on it, which sometimes is the best way to do it because you don't wear yourself out. You can stop and think about what you're doing, and you can make sure that everything is going where you want it to go. Now, some of the things that I'm going to be digging out of here, I'm actually going to take up to my daughter. She's going to put them in her garden, so they're not going to go to waste. And some of the things that we're putting in are brand new, and I'm really excited about them. Some of them are rescue plants from the garden center. Overall, when you look at it from a distance, it doesn't look so bad. I mean, the hosta side looks great. But if you get a little closer, you can see all of the things that need to change in this garden. From the big holes that are in here to the things that just don't go together. And in winter, this thing is empty. There is nothing in here. Prep work first. The first thing we're going to do is take out all the things that we don't want in the bed. Now, there's nothing in here that we're wasting and throwing away. They're actually either going to a new home or going to a different garden bed. So the first one that's going to get moved is this pink knockout rose. I love this thing. I just don't like it here. I don't think it goes with the bobo. And then I have the darker red radico ones on the other side, and it's just a mismatch. So that's going to go to the cottage garden where it'll fit in very nicely over there, and it'll do great. We are taking out this Boom Chocolata geranium. That's going to go to my daughter's house. I've got one lone little denim and lace Russian sage there that was extra, and I just threw it in the ground. And then we've got 3 Royal Rembrandt Veronicas. We are going to take these out and take all 5 of these plants to my daughter's house. Other things that are coming out of the bed are these 3 clumps of Asiatic lilies. They're red, and they just don't fit in with what I'm doing in the garden. That is everything that we're going to be digging out of the bed and actually taking out and moving. There's 4 plants in here that we're going to keep, and we're going to pick them up and we're going to transplant them. The first one being this grass. This is a penstemon. It's a Hamlin. I like the grass. I just don't like where the grass is. So it's going to get moved to its new home, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. And then we also have the Siberian fir, or a Russian arborvitae, and we are going to be moving that as well. It's the only evergreen in the whole bed right now. So we're actually going to pick that up and move it as well. The other thing we're taking out of the bed while we do this is the big obelisk. Now, some of you are of the opinion that the obelisk needs to not go back in the bed because it's going to compete with the weeping blue Norway spruce, and they're too close together. And you might be right. For now, I'm going to take it out of the bed while we redesign it. Now, the one plant I don't have is the blue Norway spruce. It's the only one that I'm having trouble getting my hands on. And this might be where I have to go, I have to wait till next year, or I have to put a green one in, which I really don't want to do, or I have to think of something else to put in that spot. I saved my empty pots, and so that's what I'm going to use to put them in. That way I can transport them up to my daughter, or I can move them over to an area that I'm going to replant them in. Now, one of the things, if you're going to use an empty container like this, put them in the shade and keep them hydrated until you're ready to get them in the ground. An Asiatic lily is a bulb. So when you're digging up a bulb, you want to make sure that your shovel is at least 6 to 8 inches away from the bottom of the plant so that when you slice into the soil, you don't slice the bulb. When you injure the bulb, you have, I guess, your chances go down of having a viable plant to replant. Digging them up at this time of year is a risk because they are energizing for next year. Whenever you're growing an Asiatic lily, when the lilies are done, you can come through and cut off the top part like this, but you're going to leave this foliage because that's what's energizing the bulb for next year, just like tulips, daffodils, and every other bulb out there. Now, this little guy has a little bulb, a bulblet, I think is what it's called, right here, so I could snap that off and I would have another plant, or you can just leave it attached and it'll grow a new shoot next to this one. Now, I think these will be okay if we get them in the ground right away, we fertilize them, and she keeps them watered, and she'll probably have good luck getting these to come back next year. But again, digging them up this time of year is a risk. I cut off all the tops and I am going to throw these away. I am going to keep the bulbs in some dirt. So I have a bag of potting soil. I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom, nestle them in, put a little bit on the top. That'll keep them cooler. Now, you don't want to overwater a bulb and rot it out, so you want to keep it fairly dry. So this is one that I won't water in transplant on the way to my daughter's house. I will leave it just like this, and then when we get there, we'll find a spot and we'll get them in the ground right away. I left it in one piece because I wanted you to see how that was going to look there. But guess what? Yeah, I am going to cut this back about this far from the ground. My goal right now isn't to have flowers. My goal is to have a healthy plant. I want to show you something before I prune it back though. I want to show you why I use the product that I use on my roses. I use a rose and flower food from Fertilome, and the reason I use this is because we have Japanese beetles and we have sawflies that totally will decimate all of our roses if we don't use something. So I put this on my product typically in April. Now this year I was a month late, and I'm going to show you the insect damage before I put this down, and then I put it down. It went up through the plant because it's systemic, and that's how it works. You sprinkle it around the bottom of your plant, it grows up through your plant. It takes about a month to do that. And then any bugs that are on this list, and there's a pretty good list, that try to eat your plant, it kills them. So that's how it works. Now, I didn't get it on in time, so I had insect damage early because it takes a month to go up through the plant. So you do it in April, and then you do it like every 8 weeks throughout the whole season. Then you can see the new growth that came up after I got it on that has no bug damage whatsoever. Now, I am going to be feeding my rose and putting the systemic down today. We are still early enough for me to be putting fertilizer down. Now, if it was later in the summer, like more like September 1st, I probably would just cut it back and not feed it, because I'm not trying to push a whole bunch of new growth after September 1st, because here we don't have time for that to harden off. But today I am going to feed it with my fertilizer food and systemic. As you can see down here, see all the insect damage? This is when the systemic didn't get on there soon enough, and I had insects seriously eating. Then I got the systemic on. I did do a cutback about the 3rd week in June and cut all the spent blooms off, and then it started growing new growth. And now you can see the new growth, and this is at least 5 weeks old, maybe 6. Doesn't have any insect damage on it. So that product does work. Now, the reason why I'm cutting back my rose, and it hasn't even been, you guys, 5 minutes. I mean, I literally dug it up, stuck it in a pot, moved the camera twice, and put it back in the hole. See how it's already starting to wilt? Now, I haven't watered it yet, but why would I put that kind of stress on my plant? I need it to transplant well, and my goal right now is roots, not flowers. So, yep, I'm going to cut this thing back. This is a knockout rose. It's a shrub rose. I'm sure that there's rules, but I don't follow any of them when it comes to just a shrub rose. It's not a grandiflora. I don't worry about where I cut it or how many leaves there are. I'm just cutting it back to take the stress off the plant so that it'll produce new foliage. I've never had any problems doing that, just cutting back a shrub rose. I don't know, let's cut it back. There it is right there in its new home, all cut back, fertilized, mulched, watered, ready to go. It will recover, you guys, just wait and see. And if it doesn't, well, knockout roses are pretty cheap. I know that for me, doing it this way seems to work pretty well. I'll show it to you in a month. Live or die, I'll show it to you, probably when we do the summer garden tour. All right, so I have one more thing that I want to do today, and then I'm going to call it quits. We are in probably the lower 80s today. Tomorrow is 70. I know, 70 in August, but that's when I'm going to move the boulders. I think I won't probably fall over of heat exhaustion if I do it tomorrow. Today, oh, I've got some fun things planned for today. Number one fun thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to set off a insect bomb or a fogger inside this shed because I'm getting ready to empty it out. And you guys are going to come along with me as we transform this into a she shed probably over the next 30 to 45 days because it's not a one-day project. It's kind of a process, and I'll try to film it as I go. So that's step one, kill the bugs. My other fun thing that I'm doing today, well, I'm going to go to my daughter's and drop off those plants, see my grandkids, spend maybe an hour there. Then I'm going to my favorite shabby chic vintage store, Rags to Vintage, to see if I can find some things for the she shed. I've been looking forward to having a day off so I could go do that. So we'll pick this up tomorrow. I'll see you then. It's now the next day and we are ready to make our path. I'm not looking forward to moving boulders, but that's one of the things that I want to get in next, because after I get that done, I can transplant the plants that I want to move, because I want to use them kind of as a guideline while I'm putting the path in, and I can get all of the things that I bought put in place. Now, we are going to put the path in down here, get everything set in place. It is gorgeous out here today. It's only supposed to be 73 degrees. There's no humidity. So the perfect rock moving day. So I'm not like totally because of the heat. So I can't believe this is August. The temperatures all month long are like in the upper 70s, lower 80s. It's like unheard of that we don't have heat and humidity all through the month of August. But boy, am I going to take advantage of it and do some serious planting this month. All right, one pile of boulders that we need to get moved over there to make our path. I hope that this will be enough, but let's get started. I'll take my positives where I can get them. That is a downhill trek with the wagon. Thank goodness I'm not going uphill, although that would be an excellent workout. Now, I am starting the path right here where I already have a path that's going to fork off. I do need to move these two sedums. They're the rock and round sedums called Pure Joy from Proven Winners. We are going to be reusing them just in a different place, but first I have to get those out and then we'll start laying the path. This is a Pennisedum, a Hamlin. It is too big for the spot that it's in, kind of plopped in the middle of the bed. I love the movement of grass, and I love this grass. I am going to be digging it up and moving it, but I also know that, guess what? I want root production, not necessarily grass production, and I'll spend all my time watering this. So what I am going to do is I am going to cut it back. But before I cut it back, I'm going to measure it out with my shovel so that I know how much space it's going to take when it's full grown, because this is full grown. It's been in here for 4 years, and honestly, it'll be easier to dig out if all of the grass and the plumes aren't on it, and then I can move it. But when I move it, I want to know how much space it's going to take full grown. So I'm going to use my shovel, because I looked around inside for a tape measure and I couldn't find one. The shovel will do in a pinch, and I'll just mark it out with my marker. Eventually it'll fade off the handle. I don't care. All right, so let's find out how much space this is actually going to take. I don't even have to mark the shovel for the width because it's from the top of the shovel to right here. That's how wide it was. And then I just marked it right here on the shovel. That's how tall it is. So that way when I move it, I give it enough space to grow full size without running into other things, because that's something that is a problem right now where it is. And I don't want to create that problem again. And then I have to move it again. I don't want to do that. So that's how I do it when I'm going to move something that's large and I have to cut it back. Oh my God, that was a beast. This is why I hate digging out grasses, and I almost didn't want to move it, but it needed to be moved. Those things are so hard to dig out. All right, but I won. I am so glad that is done. Now there are still some smaller boulders over there. I'll probably figure out something to do with those later. I do like to use boulders as an inner path to create like those curves and everything. I'm not like a fan of it against the lawn because you always have to weed whack all the grass out and you inevitably get grass growing up in between them. But I love using them to edge a path inside of a bed. Now I'm going to put a different colored mulch down inside the path. I didn't dig this out. I'm not trying to lay flagstone or make anything level. I just want a walking path to go through here. So I think I'm going to be putting black mulch down and then in the center, and then I'll put brown mulch on the outside. That way if they mix a little bit, it'll be okay. But I just wanted a little bit of a contrast in there. But oh my gosh, I'm glad this is done. One last thing to dig out, that's this Russian arborvitae right here, or the Siberian cypress. I think it's known by either name. And we're going to dig it out and hope that it's not as hard to get out as that grass was. But it was one of the first things I planted in the bed. So it's rooted in. It's been there 5 years. All right, all there is to get at it. Wow, that was way easier than I thought. It doesn't even look like it's really developed any roots in the 5 years it's been there. But it's still alive. I don't know. We're going to put it back in the ground right over here. So let's do that right now. I did end up popping out one more shrub. This is a wee white smooth hydrangea. These came out last year from Proven Winners, and I put 2 of them in the ground. One of them overwintered and came back and the other one didn't. They aren't looking the greatest, and they aren't as big as they should be. They should get like 18 by 18 or maybe 2 by 2, but they are that nice little shrub to tuck in. And I think where I've got it, it's not getting enough sun. And I think because it's at the bottom of the embankment, all the water that we've had this year has been running down to the bottom, and it's actually been getting too much water. I think that's why I'm starting to have some yellowing leaves here. It's certainly not from underwatering. That much I do know. So we're going to move this little guy into someplace with a little more sun, and we'll figure out where he's going to go after we lay everything out that was already in the design. Now that I've got that Russian arborvitae moved, I can now put my third hydrangea in. I am going to use the Invincible Spirit 2. This is a arborettes or a smooth hydrangea. It's from Proven Winners. It's got like a pretty mauvey pink flower on it. They'll grow in part shade, and they'll also grow in full sun. Now the further south you go, the hotter it gets, the less sun that these guys will tolerate hot afternoon. Now this is going to get here 4 to 6 hours, which they'll grow in that. They might not, bloom as heavily as they would in full sun, but they're going to have a decent size, probably 3 by 3. In the sun, they'll probably grow 4 by 4, and they'll get a good amount of flowers on them. So this has got that big round mop head flower on it. It's a really pretty pinky mauvey color. I'm doing 3 of them back here along the wall. That way it fills this area in, gives me some winter structure because I will leave them up all winter with their flowers on them, and it gives me a nice flower element moving towards the shade area. So this grows in zone, oh, what does it say? 3 through 8. So it can handle up to minus 40 degrees. That is great cold tolerance. So let's get the third one in the ground. Did I say these were rescues? I think I did. If I didn't, they're rescues. We had a big storm that came through and some trees fell on them, broke all the branches. So I just cut them back and put them in the ground because no one's going to buy them when they're that little, but I don't want to waste them. There's nothing wrong with them. Let's get everything in place. So I have 2 coral bells here. These are the electric plum. I have 2 more coral bells that I want to put down here in this area, but they're still in pots that I'm not ready to disassemble. Once I disassemble them, those 2 hook roses will come down here for a total of 4 down in this area. The electric plum grows in zone 4 through 9. They get 8 to 10 inches tall, about 18 inches wide. All right, so remember the video I just did on the heucheras? Make sure you do all those things if you're gonna put them in. I'm early enough that they have time to get their roots ready. I'm gonna make sure I stomp them in the ground real good. I'm gonna make sure I get a good base of mulch around the base of them. I'm also gonna put extra mulch this winter around them, and I'm not gonna cut them back. Next, I'm gonna put my Linsville arbovitas in place. I love these. They are so soft, and isn't that the coolest looking needle on there? I just love the way these look. Now this one here is an arbovita. It grows in zone 2 through 7, so it's got a really good cold hardiness to it. The only problems I've ever had with this arbovita is some winter browning right along the base down here, and usually I just can come through and clean that up. These grow pretty low to the ground, 24 to 30 inches high, so that's not even 3 feet. They'll stay in their little balls. They want full sun, so out here on the edge of the bed is where I'm putting them. This is my whole sun area. They'll do really good there. Now the particular cultivar that I'm using is called Bobazan. I think that these are going to be absolutely fabulous. I can't wait. It's got that nice light green foliage, and it does retain that color all year round, and it does stay in the winter. It doesn't brown out, and it's going to give me my winter interest in the bed. So let's get these guys in place. Guys just started mowing, so I'm just going to real quick take you through and show you what I did. I did bring a few extra things over, mostly because if I move that obelisk, I have a big hole. Now, after measuring out how big that grass is going to get, guess what? It's not fitting in here, so I'm not going to put it back in, and I'll find a home for it someplace else. But I do love the arbovitas in here, and then I grabbed some echinacea. I grabbed the lemon sombrero, which I put right here. I'm moving the sedum right here, and I added a third one to it. I decided to do both of the heucheras together because the other one is a different heuchera. So I'm going to put those together that way once I disassemble the pot. Along the edge here, I did grab 3 once-in-a-melon echinacea and some sedum. I'm going to tuck that little smooth wee white hydrangea back here behind the log. And I just haven't decided where I'm going to put the weeping blue spruce. I'm going to go get it once I find one. And I'm either going to put it right here or I'm going to put it right there. And what I'll do is I'll put it in both places and decide where I like it once I get it. So I'm going to leave the edge clear for now until I figure out where I'm going to put that. Hopefully I find one fairly quickly. Now the one thing I did choose to do was do a wine and roses woodilla. These get 4 to 5 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. But you can take these all the way to the ground and control their size. I really want the purple. A 9 bark, if you prune it, you lose the beautiful shape. A woodilla, you do not. And I want the purple. And what I'm gonna have to do to make that work is I put that third overdam in here, right down there. That's not gonna fit now, and I'm gonna have to dig that out, and I'll probably just drop it in right back here, because I still think I need to have 3 of those in this bed. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with where everything's gonna go. So now let's get it dropped into the ground. I don't know, I kind of miss the obelisk. Let me put it in there and see if I like it. I like it in there, you guys. What do you think about painting it? And what color would I paint it? Weigh in on that. I thought that I was going to be at least 2 more hours digging these great big holes. Look who showed up to help me. They finished mowing and they came over and they're like, we'll help. And I went, awesome. So I'm just going to have them get those big arborvitae pots in the ground. That is such a time saver for me. Thank you, guys. All right, I did end up taking 2 pots that were on the ledge here because it looked so crowded with 2 of them. So I ended up grabbing 2 of them and moving them into the garden bed. And I love how this turned out, you guys. So as I come down, we've got the Heliopsis here, and then we've got the globe thistle, which I did cut back. So next year that will fill in, and then I feel like if I need some more, then I can just add some more next year. But this will be that beautiful solid mass. And then, oh my gosh, I love the purple in between. I also put a blanket flower in here. I had 2 of them, and I decided I had this little pocket in here, so I decided to put them in. I love the flower on this guy. Now this is called Arizona Sun. It gets 12 inches high and 12 inches wide, so it's just going to be these 2 little, they'll fill in, look like one big mass. These are going to be so sweet. These are one of those flowers that keeps on blooming, and then when they're done blooming, see, this is what the flower head looks like. It just looks like that little billy ball. Now you can deadhead these or not. I do not. I just let them do their thing. So 12 by 12, full sun. They bloom June through August, zone 2 through 10. All right, you can see where I position the pots. I put one right there, and then I put the other one right here. I just felt like they just went there so well. I love the purple. I love the wine and roses. I ended up popping that 3rd little overdam grass in between the other 2, so there will be 3 in here instead of just the 2. And I love the path. I love the black. I love the contrast against the dark walnut, chocolate, whatever you call it. I love that. I love the boulder walkway. Oh, now I left this open right here because I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to put the blue weeping spruce. I'm pretty sure it's going to go right here though, but we'll see when we get it. I did pop in a little winter gem boxwood back there, and I do have the replant on that wee white smooth hydrangea. I ended up putting it right here, and then I went and got some little bitty sedums right here, and these will grow up along the rocks. And this one is from the Sun Sparkler series, and it is called Lime Zinger. Get 4 to 6 inches high, and you space them usually about 18 inches apart, so they'll fill in this area really super nice. I really like the Lime Zinger. When they're in the sun and they get going, they'll have like edges on them that are a different color, usually like a pinkish red color. The flowers on them are pink. They contrast really great together, and so I love this along the edge here. We planted 3 of them. I did bring back one of these little sedums with me when I was at Hoffy's. I couldn't find the Boogie Woogie. They don't make that one, but this one is pretty cool. It is called Atlantis, and I love the way this one looks. I'll throw the specs up because I don't know them. And I'm gonna get 2 more to put in here. I want to fill this edge in right here with just that sedum. I think it's so sweet. I love it. All right, then we come around this way, and you can see we did get our little girl in here. I'm going to plant her up with some pansies as soon as some come in. And I did get 2 of the heuchera planted in here. As I come along the edge here, you can see I've got the beautiful sedum in here. These are the Rock and Round Pure Joy. They get 10 to 12 inches high, about 18 inches wide, and they're growing in zone 3 through 9. And I love these. Now, they aren't looking that great because, well, I've moved them 3 times. So now that they're in their home to stay, they'll look better next year. But oh my gosh, look, you guys, look at the evergreen interest. I love it. And look, if we look from this way, tell me that's not a better looking bed. Now I'm still missing my blue, missing my height right there, but I will get it in there. And I'm thinking about painting that obelisk. So make sure you weigh in on that, because I do think I want it in the bed. I don't think it's so close to the blue, no matter which direction I'm looking at, that it gets in the way. And I do like it in this bed, especially in the winter. So I'm leaving it. But I do think I need to paint it. Oh, there's my little girl. I really like her. All right, so remember, you guys, when you're doing a design, or you're thinking about, you know, upping your game in your garden, or you want to fill your holes, don't be so rigid in your design that you're not willing to make a few changes because you find something that you love while you're doing the design. I mean, I added things. I added the little sedum here over at the end. I added the echinacea because I wanted the pop of yellow right here. I also forgot about this little wee white hydrangea and knew I had to find a home for it. I added the one in a melon echinacea, and I added the little boxwood. I moved my pots down to fill in some color in the garden while I'm waiting for things to grow. Now, there's still some pockets that I could plant in here, but you know what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until everything grows up a little bit more so I can see, do I wanna add something else, or do I love it just like this? I am loving how this is looking. I've got a sprinkler set on it because I have to get back to work. Weigh in on whether or not I should paint this obelisk. Let me know what you think. Don't forget, 5 days. 5 days is our first Garden Gab, Saturday, August 17th, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that with all of your questions. We're going to keep it to about an hour. I'm going to answer questions from the first 2 weeks' videos, and then any live questions that you guys have. Also, the second Garden Gab that I do, or the one that's always the first Saturday of the month, I'm still going to share your submission pictures of one thing in the month of August that looks totally awesome in your garden. Send that in to the email right here, you guys, and I will share those with everybody. I need to know who you are. I need to know what we're looking at, where you live, and what zone it is. I don't know, you guys. I'm pretty excited about this garden. Oh, I can't wait to find the blue weeping spruce to put in there, because it's going to be the cherry on top of the cake. That is all I've got for today, you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, watching, supporting, leaving your comments, sharing, all that wonderful stuff. I'm Michelle. We'll see you in the next video. Make sure you get out in your garden today. It deserves some TLC, and don't forget, so do you. Bye, everybody.